Welcome back, everybody, and
Perfect.
thank you for tuning into the Ion News. And let me tell you, today we're going to speak about a very exciting startup called Skrmiish. And it's basically the new app that has been launched and allowing the Fortnite and PUBG fans to challenge their favorite streamers, esport pros, teams, and even the other fans. So I really believe it's exciting project, and we have with us today three guys from this very exciting startup. So thank you for joining me here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Cool. So let's dig in straight into it. So can you give us a brief introduction to the platform and how it works?
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Cool. So yeah, my name is Roland. I'm one of the co-founders here at Skrmiish. And basically, yeah, Skrmiish is a platform that we built for streamers and for gamers and a way for them to better connect with one another in kind of a pro-am style of gameplay. So the platform itself consists of two parts. You've got the mobile application, which is acting as your command center. Here you create matches, you find your friends, you add your friends, and you have your matchmaking capability. That then is also part of a desktop client, which effectively sits on the user's PCs. And this creates instant result verification, which is quite unique to what we developed here at Skrmiish. So currently we're integrated into two games, Fortnite and PUBG. Both PC only at this stage, but the idea is to eventually move on to cross-platform, going onto console as well as mobile to mobile.
Very cool. And I would like to dig into your roots actually before we start to talk about different stuff. You, Luke, you perhaps is best known as the founding member of the milk company HelloFresh, right? Which has been really successful, and you have a vast experience in from the various sectors. Well, how or what attracted you to the gaming? I mean, it's different sphere, and even you, Roland. You've been an actor, right? You made several appearances in a pirate adventure in a Black Sails. I mean, it was a great.
Yeah.
I was glued to it personally. So how did you end up working into the esports space as well? I mean, because to be very honest with you guys, the hottest topic in the industry now is how to get a career in the esport industry, right? So how did you get there?
So let me give a little bit of background about how we got together, and we can lead that through to Luke joining us and his exceptional experience that he brings. So I come from marketing and advertising background, established an advertising agency in South Africa over the last decade and a half. And we did a lot of work with some of the really big sporting companies here, like the South African Rugby Union and Orlando Pirates in the football space. Doing a lot of sponsorship related creative work. And a few years ago, we were doing some content creation for the rugby guys. And Roland was my lead producer on that content creation project. We got talking after one of the shoot days, and Roland is an avid gamer and a very smart young man, and started to tell me a little bit about the space, looking at it from a South African point of view, and seeing how we could potentially apply our creative approach that we were doing in a more traditional sports space into a gaming space. And that sort of started this journey of understanding the esports and gaming industry, but not just from a local point of view, looking at a global market and what the potential was there, and how we could come up with what we deemed to be a fantastic commercial opportunity to build a really, really big business from. And that led us down this road. Fast forward that a few years, or a year and a half or so, and we were introduced to Luke through one of our investment rounds. And Luke's been amazing. Like although he's based in the UK, has gotten very close to Roland and myself, and was helping us with a lot of sort of strategic business stuff that was way beyond what we had achieved so far in our own business careers. And then we reached out to him, approached him to join us as CEO and take the lead of the business. His background is fantastic. He's got exceptional business strategy expertise. He's built businesses from scratch into billion-dollar businesses that they are today numerous times. It was a really, really easy choice for us. And, we're super grateful that he accepted the offer and has become as passionate about the esports and gaming space that as we are.
Exactly. Would you like to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sorry. So I guess that's going back to your first question. Like there were two things, right? Again, I've loved playing games. Like I went to boarding school. So I was playing CSGO on LAN when I was kind of 17, 18. And has always been kind of part of the blood, right? Then in terms of like meeting these guys, I was lucky enough, we invest in lots of different businesses, and we came across Skrmiish last year, probably June, July. And what I get excited about is like address, the size of markets and that we can go after. And I think what's so exciting here is you've got an enormous addressable market that we can go after, that is kind of territoryless. So, bringing across, hopefully bringing together US, Europe, and Asia will all be like battling each other and having a skirmish within the next 5 years. Really, hopefully like continuing to build the kind of gaming community and the interactions and then people. So we took a position in the business. I came down to meet the team and spent 2 weeks with them. And for me, I just love people. People are awesome. And I think in this day and age, awesome people are probably a little bit, harder to find, I find. But I had 2 weeks with the team, and like the culture that these guys have created already, I was like, this is hugely exciting. I think we can grow a really fun and big business, but at the same time, it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I think that's what I really, really look for. I think it's quite awesome that like the people he's managed to bring together. So I think with those two, it kind of sucked me in. It's a new space for me in terms of real deep knowledge. But what I do love is the challenge of a new industry, and I think hopefully lots of transferable skills.
Very cool. Roland, would you like to tell us your take on how did you get amazed or attracted by this sphere?
Yeah, so my story starts in film school, more or less. So I was studying at AFTA, which is a film school located here in Cape Town. And during that time, I've always been a gamer. And we had a second year, which we always called boot camp, because you end up producing like 40 to 50 different student films during that time. So it's like a trial by fire kind of thing. But what I always found unique about games is that they almost do something that films can't. They kind of transcend what the medium can do in film, because it's such an engaging experience. You build the characters, you become that character over time. And then you spend so much hours, developing, forming part of that story and interacting with other characters. And I was also always fascinated by that. So it was for me quite an easy entry into it. Obviously from the acting side, I had some luck after college, joining the crew of Black Sails, and I did two seasons there with them, which was great. It's the first time I was part of a production of that scale. And just also kind of seeing, the strategic process and what it takes to build such a phenomenal production. And from that point onwards, it was like Chris said, when we found each other, I started my own production company a couple of years after Black Sails. And then, like you said, a day after work, we had a beer or two, and I just, told him about my passion for esports, and that's definitely a industry where I feel we can have, a real impact on from a strategic point of view. Also looking at what the market was like back then. Seeing that, the AAA industry was extremely well developed. The indie industry was like extremely up and coming, and how, platforms started growing quite dramatically, especially mobile. And that's where we started doing our research. And, 2 years later, here we are, having developed a beautiful piece of technology with an amazing group of people. As Luke said, it wouldn't have been possible without such an amazing team. So that brings us to here.
That's so cool story. But let's be honest here, the fan engagement is it critical to building the long-term commercial success? I really believe it does not really matter in what sphere or the business these days. It's really important, but for esports even more. So this app obviously drives greatly fan engagement, but can you tell us how important it is for your long-term strategy, and how big is the potential market? Maybe whoever wants
Roland, Roland, why don't you start with the engagement piece, and I'll finish with the addressable market.
Cool. Sounds good, man. Okay, yeah. So what we found over the last couple of years, and this is largely due to how streaming has evolved for us. So what we started seeing is that usually when games were released, games would start forming communities, right? And at a certain point, either that IP evolved and they released the second version of the game, they opened the game up to user-generated content, or that game died and the community kind of died with that. What we saw, what was so interesting regarding streamers, is that streamers started building and nurturing their own communities, and they lived far beyond the games. The streamers would move from games to games, but they would retain that same community. And I think that really opened up our thinking as Skrmiish to see, like at the end of it, the most important thing you need to do as a platform in this industry is really start understanding who your users are going to be, who you're building this for, and kind of what the longevity is relating to that. It took game titles to a completely different hemisphere, because as soon as you start building this professional scene around it, at this high level of competitive play, what starts happening is you add to the longevity of that game. That's why you have titles like League of Legends, Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike, I read the other day, they started in 99. We're sitting in 2021. Now, it's incredible to see a single piece of IP stand the test of time. And that's really what inspired us on our initial approach to what we wanted to build. And like I said in the beginning, our focus is very much in bringing these communities and these streamers together on a gameplay level, which is something we feel doesn't really exist at the moment. Giving streamers tools that they don't have access to otherwise, to manage and better engage. So yeah, that kind of answers that piece of it. Luke, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think it exactly hits the nail on the head, right? It's such a critical piece to the longevity of the business, of how we integrate with them and how we grow. And as I say, we want to solve problems that they have to improve that engagement and grow their communities. If we look at like the market we're going after, what's interesting, we talk about skirmish, and if you look back in kind of like the dictionary terms of where a skirmish comes from, in Old English terms, it is it's the beginning of a battle. That's something that grows into a bigger war or bigger movement. And what we really want is to turn, if we look at the gaming sphere of communities and the world at the moment, it is inherent in gamers to be competitive, right? We're always looking to prove our mettle and like show off like who's better at what in certain formats. And I think what we're quite excited is we're not kind of looking at to go after PC or console or specific game titles. Anything that we think there is a competitive match being played is why can't we turn this into a skirmish? Whether it's chasing a leaderboard as a group and kind of battling armies, or, simple heads up of like, we're having a casual game, 4 friends sitting at home. Actually, guys, let's put a few dollars on the line, or let's do some leader points. So we think we're kind of going after anything that has matches played. And that's why we've kind of started with Fortnite and PUBG, because if you look at it at the moment, in a given week, you have north of millions of matches played, and anywhere between 12 and 18 minutes. So why can't we add this skirmish effect to any of these game titles? So we start off with PC, and we have when we talk about our addressable market, it's really hard to say how many matches were played, but in excess of last year alone, probably in excess of 60 odd billion matches were played on PC alone across certain game titles. When you then add mobile into that, it becomes even more enormous. And when you add consoles and real world, Roland and I like to have a few games of chess every now and then. We should be able to apply, the skirmish effect to any of these pieces over the next 10 years.
Exactly. By the way, the chess is becoming such a huge hit. I mean, it's just crazy.
Simona, do you know what's so funny? Simona, I arrived in the office, and we've got a really great office in Cape Town. And I arrived, flying in from England, arrived in the afternoon, and I think it was a Friday afternoon. And lo and behold, there's the whole technology team huddled around a glass chessboard as there's a battle going on, because one of the recent hires was a guy called Heinrich. Was it Heinrich or Yaku, who was actually an ex-master? Heinrich he's an ex like chess champion and played provincially. And it's again, right? It's amazing. It brought it forward, and I think it was probably happening before, but the Queen's Gambit is definitely it's fueled everyone's passion.
We watched 2 episodes of Queen's Gambit, everyone in the office. The next day there was a chessboard. Definitely started the hype.
Which I was a little bit perturbed about because the guys are supposed to be working it. They were playing chess. It's not exactly a quick game unless
But it's
unless you're
like,
the grand
I mean,
master.
it's seriously becoming, considered as an e-sport, so you can,
Yeah,
you can say you're working on your strategy.
yeah, yeah.
I also have to say it's nice that we've migrated away from, you think about tech startups 10 years ago, it was always about like the foosball and the ping pong table. Now we're kind of migrating to having like, we actually have game stations and then playing chess rather than the solid sound of a ping pong table.
Yeah.
Not that
Yeah.
we don't have a ping pong table, we still have
Yeah,
one.
we got one of those too.
We just don't use it as much.
Yeah, yeah. Simona, just going back to your points about the fan engagement and how important that is. For my background in sports sponsorship and so on, all of these sporting bodies, besides the commercialization of stuff, but looking for additional fan engagement opportunities. And I said it to my team the other day. We're in the right place, in the right space, at the right time to be an incredible success. When sports events are being cancelled worldwide, left, right, and center, and all these sports bodies that kind of drag their heels in creating digital opportunities to engage better with their fans, they've been left behind. Now they don't quite know what to do with themselves. Whereas our world lives digitally. It's native. They're there already. Now what we're doing is giving them another level of opportunity to engage with one another. The streamers utilize Twitch to stream. They utilize Discord to communicate with one another in their communities. We're now giving both the streamers and the gamers the ability to connect with one another in gameplay so they can challenge in this pro-am style game. In sports engagements, like the fans' biggest dream is to sit and kick a ball around with Ronaldo or go and run with one of the team at one of their practice sessions. Now we're giving the digital fans or the gamers in these communities the opportunity to actually do that with their heroes in a very, very smart and simple way.
Exactly. And we cannot forget, as you said, the Twitchers and the streamers are basically, the YouTubers of these days, let's say,
Yeah.
So they are those stars. But as you said before, this app provides new opportunities to engage communities and monetize play, right? So can you tell us more about that monetization aspect for the streamers or organizations?
Yeah, sure. So right now, kind of the core of Skrmiish is built on wagering mechanics. So just quickly to unpack that a little bit. So when you think of wagering, normally everyone wants to affiliate it with gambling, and that's not what we're looking to achieve. What we set out to do is look at real competitive systems. Like you have in chess, you've got, the foundation of most competitive systems in games are elo based. In competitive systems, you win, you gain a rank, you increase in level, or if you lose, you decrease, right? So those are effectively the basic mechanics that you find in competitive experiences. So what we did as Skrmiish, we said we want wagering to sit at the core, where every single time a user joins a leaderboard, they get given 50 LP points, which are leaderboard points, which effectively determine your ranking. When you create a match on Skrmiish, you then submit an entry of LP points that someone then needs to match, and you then go into a match where you play head to head and the winner takes all, effectively. And then that is represented on the leaderboard. So the whole idea there is to create like a very competitive experience, but not only for that upper echelon of competitive players, a competitive experience of players of all skill levels was kind of the focus for us. From a monetization standpoint, I can't go into too much detail at this time regarding that, but the idea is that Skrmiish, like I said, we're building a home for streamers, and we want to give them the opportunity to open up an additional revenue stream in future. And that's what we're working very hard at, building an advocacy program that's truly authentic to the space, taking in the learnings from how Twitch have done it, and really modeling that to something that is not only going to benefit them in future, but give them the ability to grow their communities. Small streamers right now, I think, are in an extremely difficult space because it's become so competitive from a streaming point of view. I think last year alone, there was something like 3 million new streamers that got onto Twitch from North America alone. I mean, it's becoming a massive, massive market, and it's becoming even more difficult for small streamers, to create bigger communities and sustain them. So that's very much what our mission is at Skrmiish, is to provide access and growth opportunity for streamers.
Very cool. I mean, it's almost when I'm thinking now, it's very kind of like 360-degree engagement, the streamers can really benefit out of that. Then, for the fans, they get engaged with the most popular the streamers. I mean, and even the fans each other, they can challenge. So it's really all over good for everyone, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's the idea. I've seen this a couple of times, and whenever we walk into an investment meeting, like judging by the age of the potential investors, I always try and like pack a little story, because these things, usually end up being very complex to explain from that initial meet and greet. And the other day, for instance, we had some investors, some seasoned investors, walking into the office, and I was like, "Did you guys ever go to a Rod Stewart concert?" They were like, "Yes, we did." It was like, "How many people were at that concert?" And we were like, "No, it was like 30, 40,000 people, Wembley Stadium in England." It's like, awesome. There's a guy, Nick Merckx, that's on Twitch every night, 5 days a week, that represents 70,000 people every day. Suddenly when you start building in those kind of relations, it becomes like way easier to digest what it is that Skrmiish big vision is. It's you've got the Discord, which has built the community environment from a communication standpoint. You've got the Twitch and the YouTube, streaming platforms from a broadcasting perspective. And where we want to live in that ecosystem is really bringing forth that gameplay experience. So yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head. It is to be that 360-degree vertical that we want to address.
Absolutely amazing. And Guy, I want to give you the platform because you just launched or released the PR about this first global event promo, but about the challenger. So who would like to tell us more about it? I mean, it's pretty huge and it's coming next week, right? It's starting next week. So tell us more about it.
Yeah, you go for it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's kicking off on the 5th of January, on Monday. So the first 3 days is going to be US focused. We're working with some incredible streamers I mean, we've been doing walkthroughs with these guys and girls over the course of the week. And it's just fantastic to see what their response was to Skrmiish and the kind of opportunities that we're opening up. So yeah, that's on Monday. It's an event that's going to run 5 days. First 3 days US focused, and the last 2 days are going to be EU focused. And yeah, it's specifically around Fortnite, daily prize pool. Streamers are going to be playing, fans are going to be playing, long-lasting community members of the show. It's bound to be a bunch of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, and this has been 2 years in the making, Simona. Like we've come so far in I would say a reasonably short space of time. We built an incredible team, and they've been so dedicated and focused to getting us to this point right now. Like the excitement has been brewing. The energy in the office is incredible. Although you wouldn't tell by the guys with their heads down behind us, but they're all grafting very, very hard. But to finally be able to launch and then make the announcement and be going into global market like this, it's incredibly exciting. And this is just the first of many steps. We've got even bigger news to come in, which will come out soon for next month.
Chris, can you tell us maybe also about, what are the most exciting regions in the term of growth, actually? Like, what are those your main region of focus?
Yeah, so as we know, the total addressable market is huge. Asia, without a doubt, makes up the biggest percentage, probably close on 65 to 70% of the total global market. US being next, EU and UK thereafter. So everyone's target is to get to Asia as quickly as possible, but it's not easy. There are lots of things that we have to do. We have to localize. We have to have operations on the ground to be able to do it effectively, and that's what we're working fast and furiously towards. But ultimately, US is next, and that's why we're targeting that as our main launch position geographically. But also with EU and UK on board at the same time, utilizing streamers in both territories to be able to broadcast our platform to their audiences. But we will be making our way across to Asia as quickly as we can.
Yeah, that's the big piece here at the moment is focusing on kind of is native English speaking communities to start with. As you say, we're building up the team into how we're going to roll out into new territories is going to be quite critical in kind of the H2 of this year. But everywhere from Australia across to US to Europe, where we have that English community to start with, is going to be hot on our target list.
Yeah, exactly. Just created, the base for that whole ecosystem, and I'm pretty sure it will be big hit because, but on another note, what games you personally play or like? I mean, or tell me, you all three told me that, you are all gamers. So what is your favorite games, or maybe which are you excited about for the future?
Should I start first?
You can go first, being the newbie here.
Yeah, I'll start because I'm probably for me it was CS:GO, and then I went through my period is very much console based through my university. So it was very much Modern Warfare and FIFA. Living in a house of guys, FIFA was normally top of the list. And now again, now living with less people, it's still a similar piece of consoles. And funnily enough, I'm now in the process of building my first gaming station. Because I've been skirmishing or learning my way through Fortnite for the last 4 or 5 months. And what's abundantly clear is I've basically given myself a year to be competitive in the office because I've got a lot of catching up to do. So for me, Battle Royale is going to be the focus for the next 12 months because I've got a lot of people to shut up in the office.
Yeah. 10,000 hour rule, Luke. 10,000 hours.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah, I'll go next. So it's quite a cool story. When I started my agency back in 2002, 2003, it was just two of us sitting in a 3x3 meter office in Johannesburg, South Africa. And I was playing Counter-Strike on the original Half-Life engine, which had only just come out in 1999, I think. And my partner and I used to play death matches each day to see who would go and pay or buy lunch from the takeaway across the road. And that was my claim to fame in the gaming space. But fast forward that about 15 or 16 years and meeting this gent, and also paying a lot more attention to what my son was doing, which is what kind of inspired me to jump on this journey with Roland. Was how much game time he was playing, and how so much of my money was flowing through his bank account into Xbox Live and into Epic Games to buy skins and dance moves in Fortnite. Nothing that was making him any better at the game, but rather just a better experience for him. And then from that and the journey we embarked on, I started to take a lot more interest in looking at games like PUBG. I tried playing PUBG on a PC, and these guys laughed at me. It was terrible. I think the first kill that I got in PUBG on a PC, I had to get into a car and drive over someone in the game to get the kill. And that was after about having 10 or 12 attempts. But I got into PUBG Mobile, which is a much easier version of the game and very, very cool to play. And my son and I play a couple of PUBG game mobile games against each other each night. So yeah, that's my take on the gaming on games and so on that I play. But this is the season gamer next to us.
Yeah, it's always cute when I hear Chris and Luke talk about their gaming experiences. And I just kind of look at them and I start laughing. I'm like, oh, shame.
He looks down on us.
Must be nice. Yeah, so I mean, been playing games since I was like 9 years old. I really enjoy RPG games from kind of an experience point of view. But then, yeah, my transition into gaming was basically a game called Last of Us, which was incredible. So what I said earlier, talking about my background, like what made me realize how amazing this medium is, because that experience is something I've never really had before. I've never watched a film that made me feel that way. So that's incredible for me, those kind of RPG games, Witcher 3 as well. On the competitive side, I've always been a Call of Duty player. So from the early days all the way through to today, I'm not that good. So that's unfortunate. I could never make it in an esports setting, but some of the guys that joined the team in Skrmiish come from a ex-pro PUBG background. And it was quite funny because the game is quite notorious for not listening to the community. And to see these guys through the 7 stages of grief through every update that gets released was quite a new experience. But yeah, from a competitive point of view, yeah, Call of Duty is definitely my game.
Very cool to hear your stories, and I have to what Chris said. I'm talking to, many CEOs and co-founders of the esports organization, Unicorn, Lagbox, and so many others, And I have to say, all of them, and I'm saying this so many times, I'm already like a broken record, but is it true? All of the co-founders of the esports organizations are saying the same thing. Like, I'm in this industry, I'm in this space because I'm connecting with my kids. And all of them are saying the same. Like, they got me like, like this is like industry I should be in. And it's so much fun because I can spend more time with my children, and we do something productive and do something together. So yeah, Chris, you just proved that
No,
is true.
100% true. Although my son doesn't let me touch his PC or play any games. He says I'm not good enough to play on it yet. He's
Well,
quite full of himself.
Well, you never know. Maybe he's going to be another future employee of the Skrmiish. But I have to also say that I saw your company image, right? And I was quite sure you have such a good company culture because you look like a bunch of great guys. All of you, when you have on your website and also like a part of the PR package, you do have this image of all team, and I have to say you have such a great energy, and today's interview it really proves. So can you tell us more about like what it is like to work at Skrmiish? Like, what's the company's culture, so maybe you can attract more employees for the future?
No, absolutely. It's amazing. I've all of us have run our own businesses before, and Luke on a much greater level globally than the two of us. But something that I've always been very proud of through businesses that I've built is building an incredible culture and also an incredible place to work. So, I've had employees be very dedicated to me and go wherever I've needed them to go. And they work. They graft. They believe in the vision. They believe in me. They believe in us, and they work as hard as they can for the cause because they know that that we're, like I said earlier, right place, right time. We can only but make a success of this, and we all have to buy into that. And make no mistake, I can't even explain how dedicated these guys are. They just graft and graft and graft. But at the same time, we celebrate our successes. We make sure that as hard as it is, that we give the guys the time to let off steam. And whether it's on in personal spaces or whether it's to do with the business, every little success gets celebrated. Heaven forbid one of these guys comes in here for their birthdays and doesn't say anything, they will get fined. Like we've had guys down beers out of shoes before for fines. And everyone just buys into it. It's a really, really great place to work. And the other thing is also the space that we create. It's so important for culture and making sure that people enjoy their time in the office because it's so cutthroat and we need such dedication. We need to make sure that the environment is really suited for them, that they want to be here. So we really, in all the offices that I've built, I've made a huge effort in making sure that those spaces are really beautiful. The guys have got what they need. They've got space to work and be focused, but they've also got lots of space to chill out, whether it's over the chessboard or whether it's playing some Xbox or whether it's down in the bar, which gets frequented probably more than I'd like, but is just one of those things, or over the table tennis table. Like it's great, and it's so important, and so far it's paid off. It's paid dividends without a doubt.
Friday beers for sure, right?
Yeah, in this office when beer's available, it's Monday beers, Tuesday beers, Wednesday beers, Thursday beers, Friday beers. Yeah. We're not picky about days of the week here, Simona.
Cool. Luke, maybe you could say, you're a newly appointed CEO of the company. You should have already on your mind some kind of the policies you would like to, bring on.
Loads. So again, culture is so key, right? I think what's so funny about culture, it takes years and years and years to build, but it can be lost and ruined overnight. And you can't build it overnight. So I think that's what's so great is that they've already got a great culture. And I think it's so important, right? It's this friend and family first kind of atmosphere. We like to, work hard, but work smart, because, if we're going to spend time, let's enjoy ourselves, right? Life's flipping short. So let's work on things that we love doing. Let's really create some cool product that people love. And if we can do it with like fantastic people that we become and build friendship, like long lasting friendships with, then I think we've done a great job. For me coming in, it's more about trying to standardize and you know, the team will start to grow quickly over probably kind of multiple territories over the next few years. Is how do we keep and contain and build on this culture that these guys have done such a good job setting up? Because yeah, he said we've got such a wonderful platform. Let's make sure we can take it through to the next level. And I'm a big believer. Amazing space, lots of fun, and you know, making sure people can be heard and be creative, and you know, work on challenging problems. Like we want to build teams of missionaries and not mercenaries.
Very good, very good. So, you know, and there's my very, very last question. You are all three very, very accomplished, successful men. And, you know, what advice would you give to those wanting builded careers? You know, maybe I know that in the esports space, it's a new journey, or even for you guys. But, you know, what would be your advice for people who are, you know, dedicated and focused to build a career and being successful, or in the esports space, or in other businesses?
Yeah, I'll start. I think that the biggest thing for me, for anyone in their kind of like early stage of where they're setting up businesses or careers, is read as much as possible and try to meet as many people as possible. I think there's nothing better than learning from someone who's got years and years of experience and learning straight from the horse's mouth. I think you know, you can read and learn from books, but spending 2-3 hours with someone who's already done it for 10-15 years is just beyond valuable. And what I think you'll find as well is you've got to be quite cavalier and just send out invites. When in my early stage of career, you know, we were very lucky. You know, we were fortunate enough to work in a business that was in hyper growth stage, where you learn at 1,000,000 miles an hour. But the way I did that was by reaching out to very senior guys and saying, you know, I'd be very honest, being like, listen, you've done all these fantastic things. I look up to you amazingly. Here's some of my challenges. Can I buy you a coffee? Like, I'd love to just shoot the breeze with you. And what I found was amazing. My hit rate was kind of 80% on my reach outs to people where people were getting back to me. Maybe I was very, very flattering in my entry notes and welcome notes to them, but I think yeah, be open to like speak to people. Don't kind of hide behind desktop research or anything like that. The best way is to kind of build that network out.
Yeah, I totally can reiterate those words. My biggest thing, and it's quite cliched. I think it's said in a lot of business books. Richard Branson talks about it in his books. You know, surround yourself with smart people. You know, I think that my biggest strength in business is being able to bring people together, people that are super smart in different ways and exceptionally skilled, and create a really, really strong workforce out of them. Don't always, you know, think that you know everything. Bring in people that do, and make sure that they drive your business forward for you. You don't always have to do it yourself. Yeah, like Luke says, just consume. There's so much information out there. Make sure that you make the right time for it, whether it's, you know, a podcast or reading a book or whatever. It's so important. There are stories of inspiration that will make you laugh, cry, and inspire you to drive you forward in business. You got to find them and take the time to read them.
Yeah, from my side, like I'm the youngest guy in the group, and you know, I was in that very fortunate position where I could learn an immense amount in a very short period of time. And in my previous business, which wasn't successful, I was a young guy. I was egotistical. You know, that was my biggest flaw in that. And the main learning from that was just really to start listening to people that have vast amounts of experience, and how you learn from your mistakes. You know, don't make the same mistake twice. That's extremely important. And then, you know, lastly, when you are in the garage phase, you know, you're sitting in a house with 6 other developers, and you know, it's all guys, and it's beer all the time, and you never go to sleep for weeks on end. You know, there's like 3 core principles. You learn from the strong, you nurture the weak, and you carry the wounded. Like if you're in the trenches in the beginning phase, it helps with the culture piece. It helps with the productivity levels. I can't stress that enough. It's like, be part of as many functions in the business as possible in that early stage, because that's the only time you really have the ability to do that, before you start growing at quite a hopefully dramatic rate. So yeah, that would kind of be my insight into it. Yeah.
I just want to finish off that with 2 points. Like, every experience that you have, whether it's good or bad, you need to learn from it. And I can speak personally of absolutely disappointing moments over the last couple of years, but every disappointment gave me a massive spike in my learning curve. And I took what I needed out of those disappointments, and it forced me to drive forward in a positive manner. If it was pivoting my train of thought or whatever, I could take positives from everything, even in a negative situation. And then finally, I think something that you referenced, and I thought Roland may have answered, but more specifically to the esports environment. When you're doing what we're doing in the gaming world, and we've spoken a lot about gaming communities, it's so important to remain authentic and relevant to these guys. Communities are the make or break of our business and other gaming businesses like ours. If you're not authentic to them, they'll see straight through you. You're going to make sure it's community first approach every single time, no matter what we do. What was amazing to see in our first stages of launch, where we were testing product in local market, was when we had technical glitches. The product team, the tech team, they jumped on, they spoke to their gamers themselves. They were talking to the guys that were utilizing the product, listening to the challenges and fixing them. And the community just loved that. Like, they couldn't care less about the little technical glitches that they had here and there. It was more about how we managed them. And that's like, we've always remained true to ourselves. So that's always going to be about community first.
Yeah. I mean, guys, great advices and really great approach. And I have to say it, as you said, all of you, I mean, the esports and even the gaming ecosystem for 95%, I mean, it is really friendly, authentic, nice place, nice people are friendly, responsive. As Luke said, like, I reach daily the tens of the people in the sphere. And I have to say, 95% people are very helpful, try to, get you in touch with the people who could help you. So we are very lucky, I'm fortunate to be actually in this kind of the industry. I really feel in that way that it is great industry to be. And, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here today. It was really a pleasure to have this chit chat with you. And I'm quite sure we're gonna, update. We're gonna make an update interview. And what about maybe in 6 months, 12 months? And you're gonna tell me that you are booming in various markets, right?
Yeah, it's gonna happen faster than that.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Or, when, unfortunately, because the COVID-19, we can't really travel, but then, you know what, let's do it in your office.
Yeah, come down.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. That would be
you got to
great.
come down summer months, winter, not so good.
Yeah. That would be really cool. And, prepare that, beer fridge. That would be epic interview. I believe so. Yeah. So, guys, I wish you very successful, time and launch of your global event next week. And, we're going to catch up, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Simona. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the week.
Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend. Ciao.
Bye, guys.